Hi, this is Jacqueline Eckern with Eating Disorder Hope, and I am honored today to be with Dr. Crystal Bowlby of Laureate. We are covering her very interesting article, Embracing Emotional Metamorphosis and the Art of Surrender. With that, I'd like to introduce Dr. Crystal Bowlby. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do at Laureate?
Sure. I am a psychologist here on the adult program. I love inpatient work. So here I do individual, family, and group therapy in the relational milieu. But my favorite part of the job, hands down, is having meals with patients, spending time with them when they're in their meltdowns or when they're needing a little extra encouragement or a hug or being there just when things kind of unravel and just to see how things unfold in that space. So I just love being with patients and watching growth happen.
Dr. Bowlby, what I hear you saying is so cool because it sounds like you lean into somebody feeling distressed, whether it's at mealtime or emotional issues they're processing, and you come up right beside them. And I know how important that was in my own healing from eating disorder recovery. That's a wonderful opportunity for your patients at Laureate to experience that unconditional positive regard.
Yeah, and they're each, every patient that comes through here is a gift to me. And, if they can't, they might not remember a single thing that I say, but I hope at the end of the day they remember how they felt when they were with me. And that I'll always carry that hope for them, that I believe that they can get well, and that the seeds are inside them to get well. So it's like if you can maintain an eating disorder, you already have the tools and the skills available to maintain and to step into recovery. And so for me, having that hope for somebody and to know that they're not their eating disorder, that's the thing I really hold on to.
Wonderful. So in this wonderful article you wrote, you cover the idea of what a caterpillar goes through to becoming a butterfly. So the metamorphosis of a caterpillar to a butterfly and the analogy to eating disorder recovery is so easy to grasp. Can you elucidate on that?
Yeah. Well, similar to, I love butterflies. They're everywhere in my world. So they just kind of stay on my mind constantly. And I have a butterfly garden in my backyard. But watching the whole process when a caterpillar starts its journey, it's this really energetic kind of frenzied process, and it eats and eats and eats, kind of like the children's book, The Hungry Caterpillar. And so it eats, has no idea what's coming ahead, right? It just is kind of in this frenzied eating. I think with eating disorders, it doesn't always look that way of compulsive eating or driven eating. I think that same drive and adrenaline could be for all behaviors, whether restricting, binge eating, overeating, binge purge. It's just kind of chaotic, right? Things kind of unravel. And so the caterpillar goes and then it starts to just become still and silent. And through that, builds this lovely chrysalis that kind of hangs. And to me, when I think of ladies going through the process of eating disorders or recovery from that, they come to this place and life becomes so small and restricted. It's like everything gets shut out, whether it's relationships, hobbies, interests, love, connection. It's all kind of, you get kind of stuffed into this small world. And it seems like, at first nothing doesn't really feel abnormal. It just kind of, but the longer that someone rests in that place, that eating disorder jealous kind of aspect just wants the person all to themselves. And so they're cocooned in there and maybe seeking that to feel safe. At some point, things start to shift and emerge. And the most fascinating part to me of how a caterpillar becomes a butterfly is once it's in that chrysalis, it actually starts to absorb itself. And, you know, that whole process, it kind of unravels and becomes just a liquidy mess inside this chrysalis. And there's these things called imaginal cells that are there. And so I just love that term, imaginal cells. But something that doesn't look anything like a caterpillar, doesn't look anything like a butterfly, but is present there, and it has all of the makings for that butterfly. The butterfly and the caterpillar have the exact same DNA, and just ready to birth something and transform. And so I see that really related to eating disorders as well. Similar to what I started with, of the eating disorder identity. The eating disorder may be powerful, but it's not powerful enough to erase a person. And the makings of that healthy self are still present. The DNA is still there, ready to be impacted and to come out and to transform into something else. So that's kind of my thoughts on how those things are related to each other.
It's a beautiful correlation. And one of the things that you put in the article that was a fabulous quote, that change is the essence of life. Be willing to surrender what you are for what you can become. How can someone contemplating getting into eating disorder recovery embrace that courage to change?
I think it's that part of creating a vision, or allowing yourself, even if it's just a tiny opening that's there, of imagining life to be something different. It's like you might not believe that it's possible. You might not believe that it's possible for you. You know, I see lots of ladies that think that it's possible for everybody else, but is there any room at all to create some kind of vision of life being different, or feeling a different way, or not being consumed with anxiety or fear, to feel more connected to another person? And one of my favorite quotes is, talks about hope, and without a vision, people perish. We're having like the aspect of kind of how we're lost without a sense of hope. And I think vision for something births that hope that can grow bigger. It's like the seed that gets planted that can start to bloom. So for me, and maybe that's, you know, coming alongside somebody and having someone else share the hope with them of like, this doesn't have to be your life, or like you're allowed to wish and want for those things, or long for those things in your life that you may have told yourself for a long time that you don't deserve, or that you can't have.
So in that emerging process, I'm a caterpillar, I want to be a butterfly, maybe I can be a butterfly, I'm going to go through some stuff to become a butterfly. How can an individual start letting go of the behaviors, thoughts, beliefs that are holding that eating disorder in place in their life?
I think for me, letting go, it's not like you let go one time and surrender and that it's done. So for me, it's more recognizing, when am I operating from this control energy place where I'm clinging on to something, I'm being forceful in my way, I'm striving for something. And when I can recognize that in myself, it's like, can I envision just letting go of that even for a second? You know, and I think, you know, whether or not it's recovery from an eating disorder or just the life experience, I feel like we all have so many opportunities in a given day of letting go, whether it's being, you know, planning something or wanting our day to look a certain way, or, you know, life happens. And so I think every opportunity in that is, can I recognize that I'm wanting to control that? Can I step into my feeling of anxiety, uncertainty, fear, and can I hold that for just a second? And maybe, you know, as soon as you recognize that, you grab the reins again and you're wanting to control, but it's kind of that part of practice. I think that any minute that you're able to say, I give this over, or even with urges, you know, so often I see patients frustrated that maybe they've been actively working on recovery for maybe a month or two, and like these urges come up and they become unwanted experiences, you know. um, it's like, can we surrender into that of like what a gift this urge is, you know? And in some ways it's like being able to see it with maybe curiosity and wonder versus judgment and fear. It's like, oh, isn't this interesting that this is showing up? What is that there to teach me? What do I need to learn in this moment? What is my heart really longing for? Is my soul crying out for something, some need that I don't know how to express yet, that's coming out through that urge? And then the urge becomes less scary because it's not an indication that you're going to act on something dangerous, but it could point you into greater connection. I don't know if any of this is making sense. I feel like I'm kind of rambling, but this is kind of my heart of that part of just being in the moment, and recognizing that the eating disorder doesn't have to be this scary kind of bully experience, but it's like, wow, like what if that can be seen as like this portal that's gonna open parts of myself up that I didn't even know were there. I didn't understand, were looking to be seen in some way. So
You're not, to me, you're not sounding rambling in the least. I'm just fascinated and completely relating and agreeing with what you have to say. I think it's very empowering to look at challenges and pain or within the eating disorder behaviors, let's say urges to binge or purge, and see that as an opportunity to learn more about yourself, to evolve further emotionally and spiritually, instead of it just being a burden you have to fight.
yeah, and that brought up a thought in myself of, to me, there's a big difference in surrender versus being compliant or being submissive. Like there's no will involved at all in those situations. It's kind of letting someone else decide for you, and then you're kind of going through the emotions of things, right? Of just kind of picking yourself up from the bootstraps and, you know, really striving towards change. And I think in that of recognizing there's no way to kind of change your emotions or to will yourself into a desire for recovery even, or to feel motivated to do things that are hard. But that part of just learning to be present with yourself with whatever is there, and to know like you're where you're at the exact place that you need to be, and that you can be in that moment and tolerate the discomfort or the fear or the uncertainty, and that you're still being held and loved. And so
That's a good description of sort of the journey to the emotional, spiritual wholeness that I think a lot of us find in eating disorder recovery as we build up this toolkit that we carry around, whether it be perceptions or mindfulness techniques, acceptance and commitment therapy tools. All those things that we gain from treatment can help sort of reframe our perspective so that we can do life without the eating disorder and have a more fulfilling life. You made this statement in the paper that I thought was excellent. I'd like to read it and have you tell us more about your thoughts. You said, adversity is the needed push that helps us emerge and grow so we can become open to new perceptions, experiences, relationships, and beliefs.
My thought process in that is kind of this looking at this. So often we hear people say things happen for a reason, or all things happen for a reason. Whenever I hear that, I kind of cringe inside of just like, I don't know if I'm fully on board with that thought of just, you know, these tragedies and suffering and pain. And so I like to reframe that. Instead of things happening for a reason, it's like whatever life happens, can we be in a place where it's not wasted? That we're not wasting those adversities and pains and experiences, because life is full of all kinds of, you know, griefs and loss and pain, unpredictabilities, ways that we kind of lose ourselves, or maybe things didn't turn out the way that we wanted them to. And it's in that, you know, we don't choose those situations. I really believe people don't choose to have an eating disorder. People don't choose to have a spouse diagnosed with cancer. You know, we don't choose a COVID pandemic that's going to shut the world down. But in that, you know, having life happen and come along, it's like, wow, how can we use that situation to be a portal into something greater for ourselves? You know, like a way of recognizing our unraveling, our vulnerabilities, our way of maybe needing to connect to others more, or to grow our empathy, or to understand how to be in somebody's shoes, or maybe it points us to a strength that we had that got pulled out of us that we didn't know we were capable of being, or it pushes us to find our voice when before we didn't even have words to put to our experience. So I feel like these experiences happen in life, and can we move towards it versus shriveling up and retreating from life? To me, adversity, when I look back to experiences in my past and some of those more painful things, it's met with the times that I felt most connected, most understood, most loved, most seen, the times when I felt the truest sense of safety. It wasn't ever in times when everything was working out well and I felt so great. It came from those times of knowing that I could be in it with somebody else. So that was that's where my thoughts go for that.
So this article is excellent. You can read it at Eating Disorder Hope. We'll be sharing this across social media as well. I encourage you to read more because it's very insightful. And before we go, I would like you to know that you can contact Lori at Eating Disorders Program at 866-347-8555. They have been a long-standing, generous supporter of Eating Disorder Hope, helping us to help millions of people find eating disorder hope and inspiration. And lastly, Crystal, could you just tell us a little bit about the program and the type of care that's available for those interested in knowing more about Laureate?
Sure. We're a not-for-profit program, and we have two separate sides. So we take 15 ladies on the adolescent side and up to 18 on the adult. We're all female program. We are really based on a relational model. So when you come in for treatment, you're going to keep the same treatment team from the day you walk in until when you leave, and that'll be the same therapist, dietitian, and medical doctor, psychiatrist. And so the therapists run the groups. So there isn't a split where techs are taking on that function. Therapists are with you day in and day out of doing groups, doing the individual therapy, doing the family therapy, doing the meal support. And we do have techs and nurses that are here. We have treatment team every day, and so communication is really open with that. And we're a very team-oriented program. So I think the philosophy here is practice what you preach. You know, we have lots of opportunities as a staff to demonstrate what we're asking the patients to do, whether that's dealing with conflict as it comes up or engaging in some kind of direct conversation to help a patient know that she can do that with a peer. And we offer lots of groups here. All of the therapists have kind of a passion that we tend to demonstrate or that we enjoy, so we get to lead groups on those things, and we do body-based work and lots of hands-on things. So I believe it's a great program, and I enjoy being a part of it. So
Laureate's just a wonderful, intimate environment, very relational. It's a great treatment program. Thank you for your time today, Dr. Bowlby, and we appreciate the article. I hope everyone will read it.
yeah, thank you so much.